lovely. Whoa.
All right, everybody, we are going to be starting here in just a minute. Can anyone out there, all of our lovely viewers, can you tell me, can you hear me? Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, well, then let's get this party started. Hello, everybody. It is Valley Girl Heather here. Once again, we are coming to you live on the stream. Thank you for joining us. Sorry for the delay, but you know, what would a stream be without all the issues? So it's been a day already, but let's kick this off. Everyone, Rich, go ahead, introduce yourself. Let everybody make sure we can hear everyone.
Hello, everybody. Again, hope you can hear me clearly. I am Rich Lescaflair. I am the owner of Skydon Game Studios, and it is nice to see everyone for our second live stream. We are here to. Oh, it says I'm quiet.
Let's see if we can turn you up at all.
I'm going to bring my microphone closer. How's that?
Keep talking, Rich. Let's see what we can do here.
Okay. How are we doing? Can everybody hear me okay?
Can't tell yet. Okay.
All right. I'm still going.
What would it
uh,
be? What would it be otherwise, right? Let me see if what we can do.
let's see. Oh, okay. You're louder than me. Maybe I'm just not close enough to my microphone. Let's do that. Wow, this thing doesn't move very well. Okay, so as opposed to us being together this time, I am coming directly from my house. So
I know. So we're still working on it, but okay. Well, let's give this, see if we can work this out. Yep. Rich is muffled somewhat. I am clear. Okay.
okay.
I wonder. Okay. Unfortunately, you are not talking to the most tech savvy person on here, so I am still trying to make sure this
You know what?
gets.
Let me do this also. Let me turn this off. Okay, here we go. Get rid of some stuff.
Don't
I
know.
can't read the text the chat anymore, but hopefully that has been clear.
Well, I can try one thing, but let me see what we can do here. Uh, Everyone, just
I can
keep your
I
fingers
can do this
crossed.
also.
Um,
Hold on. Okay, there we go. It's like a tag team on audio.
I know, right? All right, I'm gonna check here. See if we do
Oh,
that.
hold on a second. Oh my God, hold on just a second. I got this.
Oh, did somebody figure something out? Okay.
Yeah, I totally did. Well, how's that? Anybody else? No? Yes?
Oh, I think we might have gotten it.
Oh yeah. Okay, there we go.
There we go. Okay.
So my microphone was hooked up to these wonderful little things and not
Oh,
the gigantic microphone that's sitting in front of me right now.
that kind
And
of makes a difference.
Yeah,
The lovely microphone.
prep time is important. So, hello everybody
I
again.
We're doing our best here. We're doing our best. Hey, everybody. Again, thank you for joining us today. We are on our second live. Yes, and I think we're still working out the bugs. Rich and I do what we can here. Um, but yeah, thank you, everyone. Again, I know it's been about a month since we were at GaryCon. Wow, can you believe it? I mean, it's like amazing it's been that long. So we got some exciting news, but we're going to get to that in just a few minutes because I know one of the things that we, of course, have to talk about, Rich. The one thing we hate talking about, because you and I have talked a few times, the current situation with the tariffs. So why don't we just go ahead and jump in on this and kind of get through this to get to the good news? Because I know all of our Fantasy Star folks who have pre-ordered. By the way, thank you very much if you've already pre-ordered. If you haven't, please, 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 you can still go ahead and get on that. And I promise you, it's going to be worth it because we have some fantastic information that just dropped for us just a little bit ago, actually, just dropped for Rich. But first, let's go ahead and make sure that everyone is aware. Let me make sure I've got this. I don't know why this isn't going, but it should be. There we go. Our little slideshow again. If you want to pre-order Phantasy Star, the TTRPG, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing. You can see the link right there on the side. But yeah, let's go ahead and address the ugly, the terrible, terrible, big, ever-changing elephant. I swear it's an eldritch being in the corner, which is, of course, the tariffs and the effect on any product from Skydon, but of course, especially the Phantasy Star TTRPG, because that is the one that is currently in the hopper and probably the most immediately affected. Rich, I'm going to turn it over to you on this one. And now you're muted. Now we don't hear you at all. Why are we not getting? Ah, there we go. Nope, nothing. Oh no, how did we lose you? We just had you. Ah. All right, let's maybe try the little mic again. I don't know. Why are we? Let's see. Desktop.
Okay, let's see.
There. Hey. All right. Well, we got something.
Hold on.
There we are.
Okay. All right. I had to switch back again.
All right.
It's
Tariffs.
this current situation with the tariffs. I'm pretty sure anybody that's been paying attention to the industry in general have seen recent announcements from companies like Ceylon and tons of larger industry, larger companies than us that have been affected by all of these tariffs that are coming through. Right now, we are lucky that we are just producing a book, which thankfully is, as far as I know, and I've checked with multiple sources and spoke to a few different people. They are exempt currently from the tariff situation that's happening. That being said, it also, we put together a plan afterwards to talk about doing accessories. We wanted to do GM screens. We wanted to do dice. We wanted to, speak about like possibly doing miniatures or something, lots of stuff that can go along with the game because we love Fantasy Star and Fantasy Star stuff is awesome. And
Yes, it is.
And it's yeah, it would be fantastic to produce these things, but right now we had to put all of that on hold. We had to put all of the discussions on hold. I reached out to a few different few different partners that can help us with production, but like right now there just isn't anything viable that wouldn't cost us more to produce and ship than it would to release to anybody. Like it's just not a cost effective situation. That being said, I read some news this morning that there are some exemptions that the Chinese are that they're getting put forth from China, and hopefully that translates into something on our side. I doubt it. I don't even want to everyone's politics
Yeah,
are everyone's politics. I don't want to get into it. All I know is that it actually is a dire situation for the industry,
yeah,
and we're gonna do our best to cover whatever costs are incurred as far as releasing the book itself. We still have the tariff exemption. I'm not sure if that actually applies to the overall 10% that was placed on the entirety of the world outside of the U.S. But that's a cost that we can absorb
yeah.
if necessary.
Because I mean, tariffs,
That's
yeah, the tariffs across the board are crazy things. We have been watching this day to day since they were first announced, since they first were enacted. Every day, never quite sure where it is. So this is still a very volatile situation. So the information we're giving you today, if you are watching this on the replay, on the VOD later on, obviously what information we may have as of this moment, Friday, February, why do I keep saying February? Friday, April 25th at 11:32 Central Time. It could be very different, a few hours from now. It could be different on Monday. It could be different later on. So bear with us if you're watching this later on. Yeah, it could be very different by the time we get out of work today. I mean, who knows?
yeah.
And it really, politics aside, this is hitting every level of the industry. We have already seen a couple of small companies who are basically said there's just no way we can do this. We have seen statements out by most of the major uh, companies, publishers out there regarding how they are individually taking this in, and how it's going to affect their prices, their shipping, their delivery dates, all of that. We, I think, are kind of lucky so far, like you were saying.
Yeah,
So
there
far,
are
I'm going to
other,
knock on a lot of wood
we
right
have
here.
we have other like even if we have to go outside of like Asia or any like we have printing partners all over the place that we can reach out to, but it's just how much it costs, what's the turnaround, what is the that's stuff that we have to plan ahead for, especially if we so
Yeah,
yeah.
it's tough, and I only know of one company offhand, one, um, and who,
Yeah.
because they took the turn, I think, well over a decade ago, almost 2 decades ago, to do a lot of their printing in-house. In part because I know, as
Yep.
much as you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
They decided to do this for a number of reasons, and I'm grateful that they did, but they're going to be expanding on it, obviously. But really, it's only because they've had the last decade, almost 2 decades, to put these processes into place. It takes years. So this isn't
Hmm.
something we can just turn around, because if it's not the printer, it's printing company itself, it's the supply of paper, it's the supply of any number of materials that are affected by this on very different levels. And even though books technically are, for the moment, potentially exempt, there's still a little bit of a question on that. For a lot of it, the paper, if you want dice, if you want miniatures, you want anything like that, yeah.
The
It,
other thing is
oof,
they have that's a big question that I've gotten is the why don't you print in the U.S.? Well, we used to print Esper Genesis here in the U.S. and then all of the costs doubled to the point where there was no profit to be made by I would actually lose money by printing books here and selling them and like that's just the nature of the beast. You could
yeah,
say that like and then other places just don't have the infrastructure to create what we need. And if you have even if you do find somewhere to go, you're only getting everything piecemeal, and
yeah.
it's just the costs are just too high here. It just is. That's just a fact.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I think a lot of publishers would love to be able to say, yes, it's made 100% in the US, but it's unfortunately just not really possible the way things are set up. And certainly, even if all this money was thrown in and invested, it would still be years before we'd see those options available to us.
Mm.
So we don't even have those, even if we wanted to. So, but anyway, so that's the bad thing. That's all the dark side. So let's start moving out of the dark side because we can always watch the 5 or 6 o'clock news and get more depressed.
Well, yeah. The good thing is we're still on path. We're still developing. We still have plans to release on time, and nothing on the customer side is changing at all. We are just venting our developer woes, is as
well,
you would put it on this one.
staying transparent, because people want to
Yeah.
know. I mean, if we've asked, you know, our consumer base, we've asked everybody who is interested in Phantasy Star and tabletop games to
Mhm.
invest in purchasing this, ahead of time, pre-ordering this book. And we want to make sure that we as a company, especially with things so chaotic and crazy, that we are as upfront as possible about what it is. So the lovely thing at this point is that we are not, I'm knocking on my wood desk really hard. We are not at this time raising prices. We are still on track time-wise, timeline in terms of when the product's going to be released. We're still on track for that summer 2025 release date, which is coming soon in the next few months. Uh, yeah, it's so far so good.
So far, so good. Great.
So that's the good news for that. But now we can even move in and let's talk about some of the really great news regarding Phantasy Star because you just got some news you just mentioned to me just before we went live.
I did, but I'm not sure if that's news I can share.
Okay, so let's put it
so
this way.
so
The approval process with Sega has been really amazing. And they are really giving Skydon, the little company, a really, really kind of boost of trust on this. And things should be progressing a little bit faster now. Now that
yeah,
some
we,
things
we
have kind
we
of come into
are
place.
yeah we have a very good rapport with the Sega team, and as far as getting approvals out and it's been very good. It's been a pleasant experience, and we think that the overall the overall result is going to be amazing. Like we want to knock people's socks off with what we're putting out. So that is the good news. I mean, even when we were producing anything that we produce, we want to do as high quality as possible, and we want anybody to open this up and say, "Ooh, I remember this," or "This looks amazing," or "This," that's it's the feeling that I get whenever I go and buy like a new RPG book. and like my eyes twinkle when I open up and like I see all the cool art and the sparkly pages, and I'm like, I want to play this, and that's like the same experience that I'm dying to share with everybody else. So, but yes, the uh, it's going to be a bit of a smoother production process. So that's what we're looking forward to. But that's as much as I can say.
But yeah, it's Sega. Thank you. We love you. We appreciate your trust in us, and we plan on absolutely. I mean, you have probably one of the most passionate players of Phantasy Star. A true devotee of the series doing this. So, um, I don't think we can. Hopefully, we won't steer anything wrong. We're doing good, I think. Uh,
I will point out that since I think we kind of missed that out on our last stream, just in case anybody did not catch it. I came to the shocking discovery that I did not know everything. So, and I'm learning more and more as I go. The lore for Fantasy Star is deep, and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
So what are you currently working on? What part of the book are you currently like spending the most time on
Uh,
right now?
we're spending the most time currently on the system itself, particularly the professions. Uh, I had I had written them out, and we had a couple of partners kind of review it, and we wanted to streamline it so that it feels so the experience is the most important part, right? So
Mhm.
we have our professions laid out, and to be honest, like the original series of games and the PSO games were vastly different from one another. So the goal is to put the professions together to create an experience that would mimic both without diluting either one. So right now we have things like weapon skills and expertise and kind of like which professions are able to use mastery for for each one. You have like your classic series where you have your characters that are able to use weapons and techniques, and well actually in PSO you can as well, and how those balance with one another and the level of power compared to your weapon skills versus your skills with techniques and vice versa. Now I'm just getting into the weeds, but that's pretty much what we're doing right now. Is we have everything written out, and now we're just doing balancing, and then after we're done with that, then we can go and dive back into the lore section.
And I know that's one of your favorite sections too.
Yes,
Yes.
it's a lot more fun to do.
So it happens when you're a storyteller and less mechanics, but like you do mechanics, but only because you have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, I like the mechanics. I like the mechanics when it fits into the story, when it flows into the over chunky rules heavy stuff, is fine. It's not me. I kind of like a balance in the middle. I don't like things to be too simple, because then those are games that you'll play for a day and you're like, I'll move on to something else. That's been my general opinion on like super light, games. Play it for
Mhm.
fun, and it's usually connected to a theme, and then about 2 hours later, I'm like, that was fun, and then the book goes on the shelf, and I won't see it again. You need mechanics to actually make it versatile enough to that you can make anything out of it. Especially when you're dealing with Fantasy Star, you want to recreate some experiences, or you want to create different types of characters, and you at least need a versatile rule set to do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I am muted again.
it helps having mechanics. You do need the framework. You need to be able to throw dice. So, yeah.
Important things.
Important things. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so we had talked about, I know you are going to finish, you're working on the mechanics. What timeline are you looking at? I know some playtesting is going to be happening at some point probably behind the scenes, not necessarily public, but when are we looking
There
for that?
there will be public and private playtesting.
Because you have to
But
play test. You have to do
of
it.
course, you have to. Yeah, you can't do anything without playtesting. We
Like,
we are. I mean, you could, but it's usually a bad
yeah,
idea.
yeah, it's usually a bad
Um,
idea.
we are having. So I am planning on running Fantasy Star at a couple of events this year. Next month, actually, I will be running the starter adventure at MomoCon in Georgia.
Yay! Yay,
So,
MomoCon.
yep. And then afterwards, we'll obviously be doing that at Gen Con.
Mhm.
And by the time we get to Gamehole Con and QuestCon, which both of which we'll have the game there. Hopefully, we'll actually have the physical game there. So there won't be any playtesting there because if I'm playtesting by that time, then we have a problem.
So, are you going to be DMing the playtest games at least at MomoCon? Let's start there.
I sure am. Yes.
Oh, there you go. So if you actually want to play directly with the creator himself, sign up for MomoCon. It's in, I think, Atlanta, Georgia,
Hmm.
over is it Labor Day weekend? Remind
Yep.
me.
Labor Day weekend.
Okay. So yeah, so MomoCon, our dear mutual friend Jenny Loveday, the lovely Jenny Loveday helps put that together. She's the creative force behind MomoCon, along with a really fantastic team. So,
And I would say one of the editors for this book. So
and one of the editors for the book
one of the editors for the
too.
book. Yep.
So yeah, so
And
you
Ginny
would
is
have
amazing.
at least two people there, if not others, that are going to be attached to this book. So if you want to get your name in and get that first shot at playing with being DM'd by the man himself, uh, that would be your first bet. So definitely look into that. I should find the link for that so we can put that out there. But moving on. Um, so we have that, and then Gen Con. Gen Con would probably be the final play test right
Gen Con would
before.
be the last one. Yeah.
So if you are going to Gen Con, if you're going to Indianapolis at the beginning of August this year, again, you'll get your next chance. So when do game selection open for that? I forget. That's coming up in the next month, isn't it? As well, signups for Gen Con games.
Hmm.
So there you go, fighting for the spot.
Assuming we actually get our events up there, because you know how that works with Gen
Yes,
Con.
that's true. It's never a guaranteed thing, but more than likely, more than
More than
likely.
likely.
Well,
Yeah.
so keep an eye out for
I
those
mean,
Gen Con.
even if you can't get into one of the games or for some reason it does not show up on the schedule right away, we will definitely be there at the Studio 2 booth and talking to people and showing them stuff. And if you want to know anything about the game, you can stop by and talk to us there. Or myself and a couple of the team will be there talking up.
So you can sit there and chat his ear off,
Yep.
if you really want to. Keep Rich busy. Just what Rich
No,
needs.
don't. No, no. Gen Con's busy enough. God,
70,000
what a
people.
stressful event.
Gen Con, if you've never been to Gen Con itself is an experience that I think has to be tried once, if never again. It, I don't know. When I started going, my first one was in '92, and they were barely right around 25,000 at best in
Mhm.
Milwaukee. Yeah, it's a very different beast these days. Um, so if you really abhor big cons with tons and tons of people, this may not be your thing. But sometimes just having that experience just once, I am not
You
going.
can usually find just about everything there. That's the. the big thing about Gen Con.
Though this year is going to be this year is going to be a little different
The tariff
because
thing, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because of the tariffs and everything else going on. I've noticed Origins, Gen Con,
Mm.
some of these larger cons, some companies are pulling out in part because they're trying to find ways to save money to cover with the tariffs, and others are, especially the more international companies from Canada and around the
Yeah.
world outside of the US, are concerned about coming into the country to sell anything. So it's Gen Con this year ought to be kind of a different feel to it.
Let's hope for the best.
We are.
That's all I
We
can
are.
say.
We always hope for the best. Besides, if anything, it'll give more room in the hall, in the walkways to walk through the vendor hall. Because yikes, it gets tight in there. It's claustrophobic. Okay, yeah,
Ah,
sleeping in a one bed hotel room with 5 people for 4 days. If you're lucky, it's only 4 days. If you're lucky, it's only 4 days. Half the time, I would go for 6. It'd be insane.
my max room coverage is 3, maybe 4, if 4 people. But yeah, five's a bit much.
I remember those days.
I
Some of
remember. Yeah, I mean,
some of my early days.
I used to go to anime. I used to go to anime cons and stay in rooms with like 6, 7 people at a time. That was interesting. Uh, but anyway, we digress. Uh,
Oh, we got
I
time. We have time to
I
digress.
yeah. Do we have any questions out there? And this doesn't have to be tariff questions or Gen Con questions. It can be just general questions about the game. I know that we kind of there probably might be some people here that had missed our last stream.
That's
Um,
true. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, please go ahead. Uh, let's talk. I don't know. I know Dyson miniatures, and I know the GM screen was the one thing I think we talked about on the last live that people would be very interested in. And
yeah.
if there, I know you had said that there's probably, at least right now with the tariffs, that's probably not going to happen, which is too bad. Um,
I mean, if we can find a I don't know. If we can find a printer that makes the screen that we need that is outside of the death zone,
yeah,
then we can do it. Otherwise, right now it's not
not an
it's not in
option.
the books. No.
So you're working on mechanics and next going back into the lore. What of the lore, say right now, is roughly done, and how much do you think you still have to work on?
We have the history of the games and the timeline of the games themselves, what each one was about, a little background on each of them, what they were about. That was the first thing that we did, so that everybody kind of has a basis to go off of as far as release times and how the games are interconnected with one another, because a lot of them, even though they follow different series, they're not directly connected. Like the original series of games has very little connection to the online series of games, which also has very little connection to the universe, timeline. Like all of these are different timelines. So we did kind of a background history of the games themselves, when they came out, how they're connected as far as series is concerned, and then right now we're doing the actual timelines themselves, events that occurred. We're pulling information from things like things interviews and books, like the different manuals for the books, the Fantasy Star Compendium, the art books, and all of the different sources that were released out in Japan only, and just kind of putting them together into a cohesive timeline. And then after we're done with those, then we've put in threads for plot connections, how you can connect these two adventures that you make, how you can use the campaign era rules, the generation mechanics to link all of these together, how you can some suggestions, not established lore. I want to make that clear. Some suggestions as to how you can link the timelines together if you're interested in doing so, because there have been many theories as to, you know, I mean, there's been a lot of theories. In reality, the teams are just different and they decided to do different things. But
Yeah.
if you actually wanted to, to link those together as far as the story are concerned, we dropped some story seeds in there that people might find interesting.
I mean, because people are going to take this game, they're going to take all that lore and they're going to tell their own stories
Mm-hmm.
within this space fantasy world, universe. So just having suggestions makes sense because, well, while XYZ is lore and comes from, this game or this timeline or whatever, this is how, here are ideas that you can use to jumpstart your adventures
Yep.
in the universe. So that's, I mean, I don't see why okay, it's not established lore. Of course, it's not going to be. I mean,
Well, I like to say that ahead of time so that no one is as soon as I put this out as like I'll write a paragraph connecting like something from PSO to the original series, and like the last thing I want is like for Sega has made this decision to no, that was me, that was my fault.
well, stepping up, taking
I am
responsibility.
I am yeah I am not a representative of Sega Corporation. I do not work for Sega. There's no connection as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. So your question, the question that comes across the feed, when it comes to copyright, does Sega need to approve any images that resemble creatures from their games before they are published in any way, even if not for profit, say like Google Docs images? So
Um,
would that be
I'm not.
more Sega to
I'm
answer?
not sure. You're talking about for publication in our product,
Oh, it looks like
as if
they're I guess they're interested because they want to share their ideas with others once they're ready for sharing. Oh, so it looks like you're talking about making monsters and sharing them.
okay. Oh, you're talking about when the game comes out. If you're just making monsters or you're putting out. Well, I mean, so as far as we're concerned, anything that we publish that has to get approved by Sega. So our license with them, whatever we produce as far as the Phantasy Star Tabletop role playing game, that those all have to go through Sega for approval. All the art and the representations and anything that is connected to the Phantasy Star series at all of that has to go through approval. As far as fan stuff, especially if it's not for sale, I mean that's just Pinterest exists, so does DeviantArt, and I've seen many different websites where people just make up stuff for D&D and just share it, and that's all fine. There's no general copyright infringement as far as I know, as far as that's concerned. Now, if you reproduce stuff out of our game or anything that's connected to Sega, and you put that out for as your own IP or for profit, then of course, yes, that's a copyright violation.
Yeah, I think it really depends in part, are you selling this or are you just sharing it? Because if you're just putting something together and say, hey, I'm running this really cool campaign, check out this creature that I put together for the Phantasy Star TTRPG. I threw this into my game. What do you think? And you're just sharing it,
Yeah.
openly like that. That's I don't think would be a problem. Otherwise, if it's for profit or you're looking to put things together in a sellable package deal or something, then yeah, now you're talking copyrights and IP licensing and whatnot. So that would be a little bit different. Yeah. I think I remember my copyright law section
Oh yeah.
of my
Oh,
degree a little bit.
I remember it quite well.
You've
We've had to go through uh some copyright infringement issues with Esper Genesis so far. So they end up on various sites. Someone had taken the game and just copied the text and all of the art whole cloth and just renamed it and put it up on their website. Like it was, I
oh
was like, okay, well that's interesting. We had to
yeah,
go
lovely.
after them on that one.
Yeah, that's
So,
yeah.
so don't do that,
Don't
please.
do that. Don't do that. There's a reason. There's a reason why there are some IPs that people don't want to touch, and that's because the legalese on it is so. Let's just put it this way. Remember Neverending Story and that whole Artax and the swamp of was it Swamp of Sorrows or whatever? That whole
Oh wow,
moment.
you're going back.
Yeah. Let's just say sometimes dealing
This is
with licensing of IPs and other things is a quagmire of stuff to go through.
oh, my video is weird.
Your video, what happened? We dropped.
No, I'll fix that in a second.
He's still with us. He's still with us.
I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still.
The joys of technology. All right. So while you're
This is what
figuring,
happens when you do this from home.
I know, I know. See, this is why I wanted. When we did from Gary.
See, I'm back. Look,
There you are.
hey.
You're back. Yay. Okay, so let's move on from this before we really get into a quagmire. Question: Are you allowed to tell us about agility and its general mechanical use?
Yes. So
Then do so.
agility. Agility does two things. So in game terms, agility in the actual video games was your how fast do you act stat, and so that we attributed that to how it affects initiative when you're entering combat. Uh, so the higher your agility, the higher you're going to be in your initiative rank when you're going to get to go faster, you're going to get to go first in combat. Agility also affects your burst save, which is an Esper Genesis rule. Burst fire or burst weapon fire is whenever a monster or another NPC attacks you with a burst weapon, then you have to roll your burst save, which is a saving throw to avoid taking damage from the area of the burst. So those are the two things that your agility does for you.
I'm just waiting to see if there's any follow-up questions to that, so we can stick on that one. Um, if there are, I hope that answers your questions, Star Goblin Radio. Um, okay, so here's, oh, I love this. It does. Fantastic. Okay, so, oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, so from one of our other followers, Omega. This is a long shot. Yeah, it is, but it would be awesome. In an old interview with Liam O'Brien from Critical Role fame,
Mm-hmm.
he mentioned he played Phantasy Star when he was younger. Well, a lot of folks did, but yay. Any chance, and I do mean a long shot, that Critical Role would do a one shot or have an ad on their show for it? Yes, yes, please. Here,
Sure.
yeah.
Uh, you know,
We would not say no.
I
I have no control or power, and I'm like, we would not say no.
Yeah, I've met a couple of a few of the Critical Role folks, and they're all awesome. And yeah, I would love for them to do a Fantasy Star one shot, or even take interest in it. But first things first, before we look at things like that, we have to release the game. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of
Well, they
that's
have a
kind of
lot
going
on
to
their
be
plate anyway.
yeah, they're doing a few things.
Just a few things. They're doing a
Just a
few
few
things.
things. So yeah, the interest in doing so would have to be from their end. Unfortunately, that's the way of things.
Yeah. I was so bummed their live show came to Chicago the weekend.
Now
I was in Ann Arbor for Chaosium Con, and I was like, yeah. But anyway,
that does not mean that we are not planning live streams of the game. We
yeah.
do have a few people that we are talking to uh, that that I think people would find a pleasant experience watching, playing the game. But I can't name any names right now until it's all situated and
Yeah.
done.
But it's going to be good. Even I don't know all
Yeah.
the names yet, and I trust the listings, so I know it's going to be good no matter what we do. So, but yes, if by some chance, at some point in the future, if the folks at Liam or anybody else at Critical Role happens to obtain a copy or is gifted a copy of the
Yeah.
game
The,
at some point,
you're
and
like, what's this doing in my mailbox? Oh,
we know a guy who knows a guy who may
I'm
know a
not
guy.
beyond. Yeah, I'm not beyond such things.
No, we would be thrilled. That would be incredible because I think anybody who knows any of the games or the products that have been blessed by Critical Role or Dimension 20 folks, it's always an amazing moment for that to happen. So fingers crossed and knock on wood and the juju good juju put into the universe. That would be awesome. Okay, one last question. Okay, is magic in this game actually magic per se, or are techniques merely magic-like abilities?
That's yes.
This is on you. This is you.
Yeah, the answer is yes. So techniques are or techniques were created by by the Espers, by Lutz in particular, so that you could have more people that are able to produce magical effects without being an Esper, without actually casting magical spells. That's the lore part in general. So in the game, techniques are magical effects that work very similar to, if not identical to, magical spells. So you'll have characters. Most characters will be using techniques in the game other than the Esper profession, which will be using magic. There are some special rules for Espers in regards to using magic, but for the most part, the magical spells they'll be casting will be identical to the techniques that mimic them.
All right. Interesting. Let's see. Storm's lightning would be a magic-like ability. Thor's lightning is magic. Interesting. Never really thought about that, but yeah, that does
Mm.
that makes sense actually. All the things I'm learning.
Yeah, the nice thing about Fantasy Star is that they don't really, other than that tidbit of lore, they don't really explain too much as far as why techniques are pretty much like magic. They are, and we accept these things because
Actually, that does bring up a good question because it's translating a video game into a tabletop where tabletop a lot of a lot of details have to be explained or at least, defined, I guess, where in a
Hmm.
video game they just are. This is just what happens. Like they don't, a
Yeah.
lot of them don't give, they don't lay out all of those specific clarifications of every detail because they don't need to. You just press a
Hmm.
button and it happens. How are you approaching trying to define all of those non-defined bits and pieces in terms of how are you translating that into mechanics? What
Well,
do you have a certain approach to it, or are you just kind of, I don't know, throwing stuff together? I don't
no.
know.
So the yeah. The approach is and always has been. Uh, the very first question you ask whenever you're writing anything is it fun? And if it's not, don't do it. So, as far as like creating this whole dynamic between like magic and techniques, are they different? Are they and I asked the question, I'm like, would this be fun to do in the game? The way that the approach, I'll explain the way I'm approaching magic and techniques. So in the very first Phantasy Star game, you only had Lutz who was able to cast magic spells, and well, actually, I mean, Alice and Biao also had magic, but those in the later games got translated into techniques. When they redid the first game, Generation One, you had Lutz again, but now all of his magic were the techniques that you got in the future games. So the approach that I took was well, if you want to incorporate everything, the approach being make everything magical effects like techniques and then brand them as either techniques or magic, since essentially they do the same thing. You had Rune in Fantasy Star 4 who had special magic that were more like special features rather than techniques, and those are your pure magic spells. That's something that's part of the esper profession. So if you want, so the way that I did it is, if you take the esper profession, then you get that sort of special path of using magic points, and you have these special features that have magic separated from the techniques, but you still have the standard techniques that any other force using or casting profession will have. So that way, it doesn't complicate everything. The Just complicating more stuff is never fun. Having to read through an entirely different set of rules to do something that's essentially the same is never the approach that I take.
Oh, I'll admit, better you than me. This one. I mean, but no, I mean, it just when you have to take all and think along those lines and take every little bit, and then you're like having to it, where I just saw it in the chat. Sorry. Oh, a bookcase. You click on that, has a book titled Magic and Techniques, its uses and differences. And it's one little line out of all of this. And you have to
Hmm.
take that one line and, put all of this information together and define everything based on one tiny little line in the entire game.
But then you're dealing with the other thing, right? You have all of these different games that have all of this stuff that have to connect together into one cohesive story. And the game primarily, even though you can recreate events in the video games and you can create iconic characters and you can do all that stuff, the game as a whole is meant for you to make your own story and lore
Right.
and stuff. While I am fitting in as much lore as possible in the lore section of the book to give everybody ideas, the game itself is still yours. It's still yours to write. I'm not going to write like sets of mechanics because the lore says so, because that just takes away from from the game master's agency to create their own story
And their own, maybe their
and
own
their own
lore
their
based
own
on.
lore, their own world in Phantasy Star that was not in the games, and something else happened, and there's just so much you can do where you don't want the rules to get in your way. You want the rules to be a tool
Yeah.
to do that.
Well, we have a quick question on the Esper. Is the Esper a charisma class?
No.
Wow. Okay.
They are not. They are not. Espers are intelligence focused.
And why is that? Because I know I think that's probably
Well,
what's the thinking on that one?
you only have three examples primarily of espers outside of the force technique users in PSO. Keeping PSO aside, in the original game, you had Lutz, you had the Esper Mansion, and you had the Master Kojima, but I mean, as far as main characters are concerned, you had Lutz, you had Rune, and you had Kyra. Um, Lutz and Rune, for the most part, I don't recall Lutz being exactly the most charismatic individual. I think that mostly went to Alice. And Rune was a pompous know-it-all, and
No,
and
tell us what
that
you really think of him. That's
but I love the character, but that was his dynamic with Chaz, was he was a pompous know-it-all,
yeah.
and that just kind of goes into more of the I am awakened to everything. It's very intelligence focused.
Oh,
That and Lutz was genius enough to convert magic into techniques for the entire galaxy to use. I'd say you have to be pretty damn smart to do that.
that's true. I mean, got to give him a little bit of credit on that. So, all right. So I'm gonna throw this out to those in our chat. Um, as things are starting to ramp up in terms of development. Again, we're still on track for end of the summer 20, this year of the release date on that. Maybe at this point, now that we have some more broad approval from Sega, to
Mhm.
start maybe sharing some information. What would those of you in our chat, what would you like to see? What information would you like? Would you like more details on the mechanics? Maybe a little bit more of an overview on that going forward. Maybe some of the lore, some of your favorite NPCs and how they are going to be represented in the book. What are you most looking forward to? What information could we share that you would be interested in? Muscat stats. Okay.
So muskats.
Oh, we have a conversation. Please, Rich, tell us about muscats.
Muskats are obviously definitely an optional species selection. Your GM would have to approve of such things, as muskats are not only super rare, almost non-existent, depending on what timeline you're in. They also don't exist at all in the online series. Actually, that's not true. They do. My apologies, but we're not in that licensing phase at the moment. But uh, that being said, yeah, you can play as a muscat. Muskats are small. They're small beasts. They do not have opposable thumbs, so you can't. You're limited to fangs as weapons. Muskats have a sort of a mystical connection, so they have innate um, techniques that they can use. I included the tear technique that Meow has in the first game, and so they're good as casters, as support characters, and they can throw down with their fangs if they need to. That being said, species are not directly connected to professions. Just because muskats are limited to fangs doesn't mean that they can't be a really dangerous combat character. If they need to, you're not going to have you're just not going to be having a muscat wandering around with a partisan, for example, or a glaive, a claymore, or anything like that. Um, what else about muskats? I do have a couple of neat special features. So actually, let me go into the broader description on this.
Okay.
So your origin includes two things. Your origin includes your choice of species and includes your background, and the two of those actually work hand in hand. So your species and your background kind of gives you your, kind of a base set of special traits, some skills that would be available more for your background than your species, and your general size and your description, which is more oriented towards your species. I had put it together so that one does not neither of those will directly influence your profession, and there are no ability score adjustments or anything like that from species. We abandoned that even as Progenesis, like a while ago. um so that way everybody can make the character that they want as versatile as they want.
Okie dokie. Uh, I'm going to come back to the one about the art. I did see it, letting our chat know. I did see that one. We're going to come back to that in just a minute because we are going to stick with this.
Okay.
Uh, and I'm going to do the follow-up on the Muscat since we're already on this line of thinking. Do
I
mu-
I gotta make me open up
ah,
my stuff. Oh wait, hold on just a second. I need to. My computer does weird things at me whenever I stuff.
sorry, you're still with
Nothing.
us. Because
Yeah, I'm still here.
they want to know if Muscats have thumbs and can use items, or are they going to have the Mayo and Odin problems?
Oh, well, that's an easy question to answer. All right, I don't know that while. No, muskats do not have thumbs. Muskats are the muskats are the muskats uh, from the original Phantasy Star series. So not they do not have thumbs, so you can only interact with certain items, and no, you can't hold and wield weapons. Like I said, other than the fangs, you have the different grades of fangs that like Meow used. The Iron Fang and the sorry, my brain freeze. Accessing information from 40 years ago is
We'll see. Now it'll
uh
be in the front. It'll be right there. And
yes.
Silver Fang.
And I can't and Silverfang, yeah, and I can't open my file at the moment without my video going on the fritz. Hence my the issue with my computer. That being said, yeah, you can use the fangs now. You also have your claws, which are your natural weapons that you can use without the fangs. And like I said, you have the benefit of being a small creature. Muskats can share space with allies and be able to pass through spaces of enemies, and you have particular bonuses towards being small and lithe, and so those and you have different ways that you can move and act in combat. Those are benefits that you can get for not being able to do things like hold a sword. And you can talk.
And you can talk. And you
And
can
you can
talk.
talk.
And you can
And you
talk.
can talk. Yeah, you can talk. You get some innate techniques, and yes, you can talk. If you're anything like Meow, you will talk and just piss a lot of people off. And
I laughed because I'd play it in a heartbeat. Yes, yes, I would. Okay. So yeah, Muscats will be okay. I know what I'm going to be playing. Um, moving on. Where where does the Gurnhall system fall into the greater lore? I hope I pronounced that right. Gurnhall.
Girl will be
Girl.
mentioned in the lore. So Girl is part of the. Girl actually did not become um an official uh star system in the series until Fantasy Star Universe. Fantasy Star Universe and those games and those expansions are not in our license. So we're not going to, unfortunately, not incorporating Goral directly. But Ragol, which technically is that it's been alluded to that Ragol became Param, which is in Goral. Ragol will definitely be in the game, and all of that stuff will be in there. But yeah, Goral we kind of had to leave that out.
Oh, but who knows? This all
Oh,
goes well, and
we
there's lots
we
of support. We are very happy to go back and do more for this.
we want expansions. I do, and if I could do something for PSU, that would be great. The issue is that we were constrained by, and that was actually my choice for what we wanted to use as far as the properties from the games, and I did not want to try and squeeze three different timelines into one book.
Yeah.
But I know that you have a lot of classic game fans and you have a lot of PSO fans, and I'm a fan of both. So that's what I wanted to go for.
And it just allows for more to come out
Yep.
later on. I mean, you got to start somewhere to get it out there, and then once it's out there, then more stories, more lore. I mean, there's so much lore between the original series, the console series and the online series. I mean, it's really, you probably could have done it into two books, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, but I wanted something for everyone,
Yeah.
right? I so
But
we're working on some of the PSO stuff, like just the looking at both of those. Like if I hear like even though they're vastly different games, if I hear the music from one and like the music from the other, like both of those get these different, like, oh wow, that sort of nostalgia feeling that you're doing. If I could animate the PSO art to make them stand and bop like
I was just like,
totally do that.
that'd be fun. Any Fantasy Star Zero lore
Yeah.
in the book?
Tangentially, yes. I want to.
There's a word for you.
Yeah. 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 Fantasy Star Zero. I'm actually moving to try and fit more of that in. Because there's a pretty significant connection to PSO, and but yeah, there's going to be some Fantasy Star Zero stuff in the book. It will not be as prominent as the other two.
Okay. And I'm going to jump back just a little bit. There was a question earlier. Um, Fantasy Star has a very certain feel to its art style. So the poster was wondering if, by any chance, are there plans to create a program or something along those lines to help players make character art in the style of, the very, very distinct Fantasy Star art style?
A program, not by me. I mean, at least not now. Not without, no, definitely not without Sega's approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, like programs, like anything that's, the only digital thing that we want to focus on is doing VTTs. But as far as like programming like a creator, especially when you're dealing with something like art, that's something that has to go through corporate approval. Especially if you're mimicking a style or you're taking things from characters that already exist, especially that's something that we would have to discuss. Would it be a cool idea? Yes, but at the same time, Fantasy Star does have a particular look, but
Yeah,
then the question is, which Fantasy Star are you talking about? Because the original series and Fantasy Star Online look very different from one another.
that's true.
Uh,
It would be a pretty complex app to put together or a program to write. It's one of those that the best way to show Sega that these things are of interest and possibly in demand and worth their time to, check off and review and approve everything, or maybe have something like this done, would be to support the RPG. So let's show them that the RPG is huge, that people love it, that people are very interested in it. We can put more out, and that would be something I would think that would be more like, I don't know, what do you want to say, phase three or something. So, like phase one, we get the initial TTRPG out. It becomes a massive hit, right, folks? Because we want it to be a massive hit. Phase
I know I
two,
do.
I know. I do too. Phase two would be additional supplements. Now we can talk maybe merchandising, assuming things have work themselves out on various ends, like we talked about at the beginning. Phase three would be because the demand continues over a period of time, the money's there. Sega looks at it and goes, oh, there's a big demand for this, and maybe they'd be willing to go in. Because art, especially in the day of AI, which unfortunately, where we're at now, is a very touchy subject. So it would be, it's one of those that to put something like that out there, they would probably be very, very hands-on about. But it's not a no, it's just not
Since you
not right
since you
now.
brought since you brought that up, I am a I am a staunch opponent of uh, of AI rendered art at the moment. With the way that it's going, there will be no artificially intelligent, no AI art in the
Yeah.
book at all. Nothing,
All,
nothing
all
like that. All of it is, yeah, all of it is all
human
hand drawn
artists.
or painted or, yeah, human artists, and they're all wonderful. They're lovely to work with,
And they really got
and
the
uh, and
style down. So
they do.
we've seen some of the artwork that they've put out. I'm going to go ahead. I can just put some of that up here for a quick minute so you can see. I mean, because it really is a very distinctive art style. So as it's anime, but it's not. It's like classic '80s, like '80s and
Yeah.
really early '90s kind of thing.
So we have our I work with our art director Maria, who's also very, very awesome. She looks at different art pieces and art styles, and we were going back and forth as to what we were looking for, and with our lead illustrator Santi, and he loves Fantasy Star as much as I do, and his art style is very prevalent in a lot of the character pieces that he does. And the goal was to make the characters um, different from like the original, like anime, like the '80s anime look that were in the instruction manuals, but just so much to where they're just a bit more modern, but still the same characters. You can look at them and go, I know who that is, and
Yeah,
without a doubt.
yeah. And oh, I don't know if we have do we have the number of pre-orders? Is that shareable? Can we
That is not
talk?
shareable now.
Nope.
Nope.
Let's just say what we have
That
is
is
good. We need more.
Yeah, that's
More.
what
I
we
mean,
we
the
always we
numbers are
always we
better.
always need we always need more, but we're doing pretty good on. I'll just say I'm very happy with the number of pre-orders that we have. That's what I can say. But yeah, we are um you know not again without approval. I can't share numbers or
Yeah.
statistics or anything like that. That's
So we appreciate the ask. So at least we have an
yes.
idea. The numbers are solid, but again,
Mhm.
if getting the word out that Phantasy Star is coming to the tabletop, get the word out. Help show. Get your friends in on this. Because again, you're getting the full book with the lore guide, the mechanics, all of it. The character sheets and everything. You're getting the full PDF of it. So
Mhm.
when you get the book, you're getting the full PDF. The entire book is coming in PDF. So you'll have both of those options. And then, of course, um, our
The
lovely
starter adventure
and the starter
and the starter
adventure.
adventure. Yeah, the
Oh
starter
yeah,
adventure only comes with pre-orders. That's going to be a totally separate product
yeah.
after the book's released.
So the search for Dr. Livino. So yes, you'll get that initial starter adventure only. It'll be an exclusive with the pre-order. So if you know friends who might be interested, if you want extra copies, if your friendly local gaming store you think needs to have this in on their shelves, which of course they do, you know definitely get in on those pre-orders because we're still taking them. That is still open at this time. So if you'll go to the website, it is right there. I mean, for $70, which honestly I have seen some of the larger current books out for other game systems that are minimum 70, 75, $80 plus, and you're not getting the PDFs, you're not getting a starter adventure. So it's a pretty good deal. Get on the ground floor of this. Oh, but it is. We've been on for over an hour. It's almost an hour and
We
20.
have been. Oh, look
Yeah.
at that.
Wow.
It was the tariff. It was the tariff thing and the technical difficulties.
It
But
was.
no.
There's so much to talk about. Um, but yeah, so we're going to cut it here, I think, because both of us have to get back to work and doing our
Yep.
thing. Rich, right now, if we're talking final playtest at Gen Con, so we're talking very probably end of August, roughly. Don't for
You're talking about for release.
for
It's
release.
it's gonna be late at this point, especially with the having to shift around and have different talks with printers and kind of put together a plan. Late summer is still the goal, so probably early to mid September is
Okay,
like is our cutoff. I mean,
right.
we want to do summer. We're gonna do that, but it's moved just a little bit. But
Yeah.
that's what we're aiming for.
So bear with us. Do however you feel to support. Obviously with the tariffs, we are going to stay apprised of this. We can't get away from it really. We're keeping a close eye on it. If anything changes, anything comes down the pipeline that shifts anything, we will let you all know. I mean, I will blast it across everywhere because we want to keep everybody in the loop. You entrust us with your money to bring you the best product. That is our absolute goal. And in part of doing that is making sure that you know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. So hopefully things will go, at least they won't change anymore for the worst. Hopefully they will get better. And at this point, September of 2025 is the current on-time ETA for release. And Rich, unless you have anything, I think we can wrap this up for this
Nope,
particular one.
I think we are good. Thank you everybody for coming in and listening to us ramble and asking actually pretty excellent questions.
They do.
I like talking about this.
They kind of get to the heart of the matter. It works really
Yeah.
well. So
Give us the stuff. Yes, okay.
But make sure, everybody, make sure you follow us on all of our socials. Make sure you follow us to keep up with all the updates. We are out of here. We'll be back probably next month in May. We will have more information, and keep an eye out. More is coming down the pipeline. Until then, guys, we'll talk to you later.